Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick introduction of the channel, what it's going to be about, and also of myself, and then we're going to get straight into it. So what I'm going to be doing on this channel is discussing all things law on the two topics, the two textbooks, which is ILW1501, the Introduction to Law, and then also CMY 1501, which is the Introduction to Criminology. So we're discussing those two books, and yeah, so we'll be doing PowerPoint presentations. So every lesson will be PowerPoint lesson with a voiceover of me explaining and going into depth on each chapter, on each unit. Then I will be also doing live Q&As once a week, and then I will also link and put at the end of each video my email address that you guys can email me privately with any comments, or also for a Q&A that I'll be doing for each unit. So for each unit I'll be doing a Q&A, and then you can email me and I'll send you the Q&A free of charge, of course. And then yeah, so if you have any questions, you can either email it to me or you can comment it down below. Also, I will link below the tutorial letter for each unit. So for this module, the tutorial letter is tutorial letter 101, Intro to Law. I'll also link notes, some extra notes. So I know it's nice to have some notes that you can print and view, some summarized notes. And then yeah, if you can comment down below with what you struggle with and need extra help with, then will help you with that. Yeah, so let's get started. Unit 1 for ILW1501 is what is law. So I'm sure you've all gone past this already, but it's nice to have a quick little video that you can just recap before the exams, because our exams are right around the corner. So for this unit, we'll be looking at what is law. So it's basically just a brief introduction of what law is. There's the two keywords on the screen: a norm, which is a standard of human conduct or rule of human behavior. An example of this would be a parent's relevant legal norms would be to support or maintain their children. The word norm kind of gives that away. Norm meaning normal, normality. The normal thing for a parent to do would be to support and maintain their children. Then you get the words the law, which is a rule or norm governing human behavior. So a norm is a standard, the law is a rule governing human behavior. The law is concerned with rules that bind the whole community, which are norms of conduct or rules of human behavior that should be obeyed by all society. Then you get the characteristics of the law. The characteristics of the law include: the law governs human behavior and conduct. All society should obey the law. The state organs enforce the law. By ignoring or disobeying the law, we may be prosecuted or punished. An example of this is when we're driving and we ignore a traffic light, a red traffic light, and we go right over it. This could lead us into getting a fine, or we may be ordered to compensate a party if we do get into an accident by driving over a red traffic light. South African law is divided into two divisions: public law and private law. Public law deals with the relationships between the state and the individual. An example of this is when you go and vote. So once a year we all go and vote, which is called the municipal elections. This is part of public law because it deals with us as an individual and the state or the government. Private law, on the other hand, deals with the relationships between individuals and other individuals. So I had the example of payment of children's school fees. If your child is in a school and you're in arrears of the school fees, that is part of private law. When the school comes to you and sits you down or sends you a note and says you're in arrears, That is a relationship between you as an individual and the school as an individual as well. So that's part of private law. South African law can be divided into two main divisions, formal law and substantive law. So formal law, also called procedural law, are basically the words speak for itself. Formal, so in a formal setting, court would be a formal setting, or procedural law, the procedures. So procedural procedures, the procedures followed in legal proceedings. Formal law determines how court cases are decided and the way we act in court and the type of evidence that is allowed in court. So obviously we know there are, different evidence that is not allowed in court, different evidence that is allowed in court. So this falls under the formal or procedural law, where they tell you what evidence is allowed and what is not allowed. As a lawyer, you'll often hear the word objection. This is often done when the type of evidence that you are giving out is not the evidence that is allowed, and this is them following formal law. Then you get substantive law, which is material law. This determines the content and the meaning of different legal rules. So where formal procedural laws is the procedures, substantive or material law is what determines the content and the meaning of the rules that apply in formal law or a formal setting like the court. Then we look at justice. So it's kind of easy to grasp this unit because everything kind of interlinks with one another. So where the different types of law would be, the two divisions would be the substantive law and formal law. Justice does the exact same thing. It's formal justice and substantive justice. Justice means the equality before the law. If something happens to you and you are the victim, we often make cases against people for certain things that they have done to us because we seek in justice, which is equality before the law. Two types of justice, formal justice and substantive justice. Formal justice is explicit rules for specific cases to show how people must be treated. So different cases will have different rules to show you how you need to treat people, whether you're a lawyer, an advocate, a judge. There's different rules for different cases to show you exactly how the people being prosecuted need to be treated. Rules must be applied generally, meaning the rules must apply to all people in the group in the same circumstances. Rules must be applied impartially, meaning the judge may not be biased. So all the rules need to be applied fairly. Basically, formal justice is just fair. The judge must not be biased, the rules must be applied generally, and you need to treat everyone the same. Biased means you have a certain judgment towards that person. For an example, if I am a judge for a case between two parties and the one party is my son, I'm going to be biased and leaning more towards in his favor. As a judge is not allowed to be biased. Substantive justice is concerned with the content of the law and not the way it is applied. So just like substantive or material law determines the content and the meaning of different legal rules, substantive justice is concerned with the content of the law, not the way it is applied. Formal justice is the way that it is applied. It determines the meaning of legal law, exactly the same as substantive law, also determines the meaning of different legal rules. And this is to determine substantive justice, one must determine whether the rules are just. Now we look at the law and other normative systems. Normative systems that govern human behavior. So the norms that control human behavior. So there's three here. It's religion, individual morality, and community norms. Religion. Every religion has its own rules. Christian rules are set out in the Bible. Muslim rules are set out in the Quran. Religions also have different punishments. Religion and law should be mutually exclusive. This is what we call the secular approach to law. Religion is a personal matter. Citizens have religious freedom. The state does not interfere with religious views. So I just want to stop here for a minute and talk about this, and I'd like for everyone also to comment down below all their opinions and questions. When we talk about the state does not interfere with religious views, this means an example of this would be a Muslim. So as a Muslim, they know that they do not, or they're not allowed to eat anything that is from a pig. So they don't eat bacon, they don't eat pork. These are one of their rules, so to say, their religious rules. They would have punishments for doing this because it's a rule that they're not allowed to cross, but the state cannot interfere with this because it's a religious view. So they see it as a rule and everything, but it's actually a religious view that they have, where they know, okay, we're not going to eat this type of food from this type of animal, being bacon from a pig. The state does not interfere in this. A little while later we speak about what the state would interfere with. Then in a religious state, religions and laws have the same content. Law applies religious rules. Similarities between law and religion would be Western legal traditions influenced by the Christian thought, and modern matrimonial law. Conservative regulations in sexual relationships and verbal contracts are all derived from church law, which is the canon law. And yeah, like I was speaking about earlier on, religious offenses such as murder, fraud, and theft are dealt with by the state. So whereas the state does not interfere with religious views on what they eat and how they do certain things, those are just views. But religious offenses such as murder, fraud, and theft are dealt with by the state. Then we move over to normative systems that govern human behavior. The last two, which is individual morality and community mores. Individual morality speaks for itself. It's what we impose upon ourselves. So it refers to a person's normal or standards. So it's things that we set out for ourselves. It's not governed by the state. It's not frowned upon by a community. It's things that we set out for ourselves. A person's morality sometimes goes hand in hand with legal rules and religious norms. Individuals impose self-inflicted punishments when they themselves don't follow these norms. Because individual morality we set out for ourselves, set out by ourselves for ourselves. So we would then impose the punishments ourselves. Then community mores, which is collective morals. Sometimes you live in a specific community that lives by certain rules, and everyone collectively follows those rules because it's your community rules. So non-compliance led to disapproval from others. If you don't comply with rules in the community that are set by the community that everyone else follows, then often we get frowned upon or disapproval from others. And this obviously differs from one community to the next. Thank you guys very much. I did set out my email in the last screen, and I'll also link it down below. You guys can email me for the Q&A. I have set out quite a nice Q&A on the important things that we need to know for the exam on this unit. I'll also be doing all the other units and lessons exactly like today's lesson for all the other units. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also comment below what it is that you're struggling with. If you're struggling to grasp maybe substantive law or substantive justice, please comment down below, and then I'd be really happy to make a whole separate video going into depth about that. Thank you so much. Bye.